Hi, guys. Welcome to Weekly Travel Updates. Wow, have we got a lot of information for you tonight? Well, first, did you hear about all of the earthquakes in Turkey today? I mean, there are thousands. There are more than 3,000 buildings that have collapsed. So there are literally thousands of people that are they don't know where they're at. They don't know if they're okay. And more than 2,000 have already been confirmed deaths. So as you pray this week, remember them. Uh, Turkey is one of my favorite cruise ports in the Western Mediterranean. In the Eastern Mediterranean. And so, man, I really hate that. More than 32 earthquakes today. And, you know, I found that really interesting. Even in New York State today, there was an earthquake in West Seneca, a 3.8 magnitude earthquake in New York. And there were 6 in the last 7 days in Kentucky. Today, or within the last 24 hours, it was as small as 1.5. But in the last 7 days, there have been several that were over 3.2 on the Richter scale. In the past 14, or there have been 14 in the past 30 days, just in Kentucky alone. Today, since I'm talking about earthquakes, other places that saw earthquakes today, the largest was 5.3 in Chile, short of Turkey. There was a 4.4 in Mexico. There was a 5.0 in the Tonga. There was 8 hours ago, there was a 3.2 in Puerto Rico. So if you have family there, just be certain that everybody's good tonight. And yesterday in Hawaii, there was a 3.3 on the Big Island. So after I saw that and I started looking, it really is scary. Just another reason that you should have travel insurance every time you go somewhere. Okay, to the big news this week are these fires that have been on board ships. That's like the scariest thing for passengers or crew members is a fire on board a ship. So the first fire happened on the brand new Icon of the Seas. It hasn't even left the shipyard yet. And during the week, there was a fire in one of the stairwells. It was extinguished, but the whole shipyard had to be evacuated because, as you can imagine, there are lots of things that can explode and cause further damage. So the ease of it all was that within 45 minutes, they were back working on the ship. So if you're booked on an Icon of the Seas next year, have no fear. It's not delayed or anything. It just had a challenge. And the second one was in Sydney, Australia, on the Vikings Orion. The first one and this one are under investigation, so not all the details are out, but this is said to have been a technology issue that was the cause of the fire. Nobody was in the cabin, and it caught fire. It was rapidly extinguished, and nobody was hurt. Nobody was injured. They did evacuate one cabin on each side of that cabin that caught fire for smoke fumes and things, but they were able to take off on time the very same day. It didn't delay the sailing at all. And I just think that that's incredible. Both that they have become so efficient that many of these emergencies can be handled right on the ship by the crew. The Icon of the Seas, it was put out by ground crew as the crew working on the ship were evacuating. So really, really big. Well, Disney. Oh, our favorite Disney. Disney is ending its 50th anniversary of Disney World on March 31st. They are beginning their 100 Years of Wonder by the Walt Disney Company, and it starts on April 1st. So if you really have some of that 50th anniversary merchandise or you want some, now's the time to get it. Online at my Disney store, you can even find some discounts. So, with that, there's lots of things going on at Disney. Right now, crowds are very weak. So, for the first time in a long time, they are allowing free parking to guests that are staying on an on-site Disney property. It's been a pretty good time since free parking was offered, and when it is $35 and $40 a day, well, that's a pretty good savings. Okay, they will have 25% off for bookings to travel between April and July. They'll have 30% off for traveling in the month of March. And there's more and more and more. That's the reason to call your favorite travel agent. We have Disney specialists for that. Okay, then August of 2023, I looked at some average daily cost. It varied from $106 to enter a park for the day to $138 for the day. So one plus, or one reason that you would want to price this with a travel agent, is that we can look at those days where the park entry is lower and thus making your overall Disney package lower. Now, if you know how to navigate and look at the price per day for the ticket cost, that's a good measurement for you as well. But we'd be honored to serve you. What people are not looking at are the extras that I just don't feel like they're worth it. For instance, if you're staying in an on-site property and you want to drive over to park your car to be nearer or to have your vehicle close by, go over before the park opens. The parking opens 30 minutes before the parks open. And if you're a guest that stays on an on-site Disney property, you already get 1 hour extra. But even if you're not staying on a Disney property, just get to that parking lot 30 minutes before the park opens and avoid that $45 to $50 preferred parking fee. You know, the same kind of transportation is available a little further away. It's not gonna, I would not feel like it's worth $45 or $50 a day. Another way you can save hundreds, not per trip, but per day, by choosing a lesser expensive on-site Disney property. If you have little kids, I get it. You want something convenient where mom might be able to take them back so they can have a nap in the middle of the day and dad can keep the others in the park running until they get too tired. But if that's not important, and that's probably the most direct reason that I would suggest an on-site property. But what I would suggest is not staying in maybe the very most deluxe. If you compare the price for, let's just say, Caribbean Beach and Contemporary, there is several $1,000s difference in the price of the package simply because of the type of property you're choosing. And if you have a good travel agent, we don't mind pricing several for you to make sure that you're making the best and most knowledgeable decision. Okay, let me go on with what else Disney's got going on. One other place that you can save between $100 and $250 is skipping the Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique. I know that your kids will look cute as pie if they're dressed in that princess outfit with their hair done and their nails done and new shoes and everything. But unless they're going to keep that forever, boy, that is an awfully expensive picture. Now there are big box stores that even offer princess outfits. And, if you're like my niece was, she could have cared less to have her hair done. It was a princess dress and tennis shoes that were the call for the day. You judge, but that's a big place to save. And if off season is available to you, like automatically when the kids are out of school, the prices are high. When the kids go back into school, even as early as the second week of August, because many schools do go back earlier than we do here in North Carolina. Even if you choose then, it's a tremendous savings. It's worth looking into. Let one of us check it out for you. And it's, the Genie Pass. A lot of people just feel like they've got to have the Genie Pass. It gives you the fast lines. It gives you skip a line. But if you're going in an off-peak time, I really feel like that's a waste of money, particularly for Animal Kingdom and Epcot. Hardly ever is there a time when you need to be buying a Genie Plus for those two parks. The demand's just not there. So save your money and utilize it in another way. Okay, then, you don't want to miss, and you can book this on your My Disney experience, the best times to get the Guardians of the Galaxy tickets are at 7 a.m. or 1 p.m. 7 a.m. because it's first thing in the morning, or 1 p.m. right after lunch, and a lot of people just don't book that. Those are your best two times, and Guardians of the Galaxy is like the newest, hottest thing. Okay, let's go on to some other travel news. I read this week about the Astoria. It's a very, very old ship. It was built in 1948, several years after the Titanic, and it's finally going to the shipyard graveyard. Yep. The company that owned it during the pandemic closed. It was Astoria Cruises, and a Bitcoin millionaire purchased it with intentions of reopening it as a new cruise line, and things went south, and now she's headed to the scrapyard. Look up pictures. She's really interesting and old looking. The Astoria. Okay, Holland American had a great story this week, and they have been doing a 5K walk on many of their ships, and it's called On Deck for a Cause. This week, they contributed $450,000 to the Ukrainian refugees in an effort to just ease the problems that they're going through. I thought 450,000, God, that's a lot of money. But every sailing, they're offering this Be On Deck for a Cause. Would it be something you'd be interested in? I think it's pretty cool. Then, oh my goodness, wait till you hear this story. There's a lady in the UK, and she is suing Royal Caribbean Cruise Line. Well, it happens that, that's not really true. She's not suing Royal Caribbean Cruise Line. She's suing her travel agent who booked Royal Caribbean Cruise Line. Now, this is going really far. I have never heard of this, and I've been doing this 40 plus years. But this lady called and asked the purser's desk to move her cabin. There were kind of rough seas. It was in Europe, and she said, I asked my travel agent for a stable cabin. And this cabin, she just didn't feel, I don't know what the specifics of the cabin, she didn't feel like the location was the best. Well, the purser's desk told them the ship's full. There's nothing we can move you to. And she said, I just can't believe that there's nothing you can move me to. And the purser said, short of a medical emergency, there's nothing that we can move you to. And she said something to the effect of, because I've heard it a few different ways, something to the effect of, there could be a medical emergency tomorrow. There could be a suicide. Well, that threw Royal Caribbean into a new protocol that they have. You know, I've shared several times this year alone where we've had suicides, but now there's protocol. And within minutes, there were men at her door. They took her and her daughter. They moved them to another stateroom, a stateroom that was not accessible by most. I don't know what that means, but that's what it said. And there she was. They moved everything out of the cabin that could be construed as something to use to commit suicide. So there were no utensils, there were no cords, it was stripped. And this lady is suing her travel agent. Well, I guess Royal Caribbean pretty much told her, you can't do anything about this. We treat it just as if you were going through TSA at the airport and you said the word bomb. Whether it was implied or whether or not you were kidding, don't ever say anything like that in the airport. And now I guess we're learning, don't say anything like that on a cruise ship. I cannot imagine her travel agent could be held liable for her stupidity, but what Royal Caribbean said was, had she handled it differently, it could have had a different outcome. And I'm telling you, I told the client just this past week, the days of being rude and getting what you want has really gone away. Staff on the cruise ships took a poll and they said, you don't understand. We have interconnecting communications with all of our friends who work on the ship. And you should be kind to us because you never know, their roommate may be your barkeep, or their roommate may be a server for you at dinner. Lots of ways that this cabin steward suggested being rude could be. Revenge is not a good word. That they could really mess up your cruise if you were very unkind to them. Just as if someone on your cruise might drop somebody a note to say, these people are on a special trip. It is to celebrate their anniversary, and make sure you do something great for them. It can go both ways. Okay. Not that a passport is required, because it's not. But guess what is required now to get into Grand Turk? Any guesses? I don't see any replies. You have to have a vaccination. You have to have a vaccination, irregardless of what cruise line you go on, to get off the ship in Grand Turk. For that reason, they don't suggest you booking the sailing because it calls on Grand Turk. So, we've seen that in Tortola. We have seen it in St. Kitts, but first time that I had seen it here. Okay. The emails from Carnival. So Carnival this week sent out emails for travelers who are getting ready to travel on Carnival. And it said, behave yourself. If you don't behave yourself, you can get kicked off the ship. If you're put off the ship, it's your own responsibility to get back to the States. Be nice to our people. Treat them as if you would want to be treated. Now, that's it in a nutshell. That wasn't exactly what it said, but it's true. They are serious about this. There was a passenger who threw a drink back at a server on Royal Caribbean just a few weeks ago. And when they got into the port in the Bahamas, the ship's captain put them off of the ship and said, "Get home the best way you know how. We will not tolerate our staff and crew being treated in that way." That was big. That was big. Did you know that they could do that? So I promised my cousin tonight I would talk a little bit about first time cruising. And so I'm just going to jump right in. I don't have any notes. This is just off the cuff. Number one, I would say make sure that you know what the protocols are for the ship. Number two, make sure you have all of your documentation and you have it in your hand. I think that the conception of going on a cruise is so glamorized. And first, you walk inside and it may or may not be what you're expecting because you're going to see lines of people, and they're going to circulate through. They're going to walk up to a counter. You're going to give them your paperwork, all of your documentation, your proof of identification, and they're going to give you room keys, and off you go. But it's not going to be people that are smiling, and it's kind of chaotic that first day. So just to get that past you. Then when you walk upstairs, you might think you get the red carpet treatment, but it's not quite that way anymore. Things have gotten a little busier and staff has gotten a little smaller. So when you cross the threshold and you walk in that ship, there is somebody that will point their way to your room or tell you how to get there, but they no longer walk with you and carry your luggage. First, if you get there early, don't expect for your rooms to be finished until close to 1. I wear a bathing suit that morning, and I'm ready to go up to the pool deck, grab a chair, and clean my space. Then whoever's with me, one of us will go get food and bring it back out there. There's food right off of the pool deck, and there are many places where you can get food to go. I will say that the large majority of people out by the pool are just there for the sunshine and live music. So that's where I think is the coolest until you can get to your room. Now, if you've had a strenuous morning, just walk down to the dining room and go do lunch in the dining room. It'll be a much more relaxed atmosphere. You'll get that very catered service that you might expect in a dining room, and they start day 1. So that might be an option for you. Then you can always go to the back of the ship because let's say, for instance, on the Paradise that I have clients traveling on soon, there are, it's like a grill, hot dogs, hamburgers, chicken sandwiches, everything's grilled on the back deck. Go check that out. Then after you can get in your cabin, I would go drop all my stuff because everything you have with you were just the items you didn't want to leave down at the dock. Like when you get there, you can drop off your luggage. You'll have your bag tags on it that'll say what cabin they will go to, and then you'll go on board with just what you're carrying. What do I never let go of? I never let go of my makeup, my medicine, at least one change of clothes, and my documents. All of those will be in a backpack on my back from beginning till I get to my cabin, and then I'll put some of those items in my safe. The safe, by the way, at least with most cruise lines, the same person who runs their card to lock the safe, that card is the card that has to be run down the side again in order to open the safe. So remember that. If your husband sends you up from the casino for more money, you have to take his card if he's the one who locked the safe. Okay, now let's see. What else am I going to tell you? Okay, I talked about a little bit of expectations on the deck. Oh, I know what else that you need to make sure that you have everything with you. Take all of your tech with you. Phones, iPads. I don't check any of that. And speaking of tech, take a photo of what you're taking on this trip. I recently read of an agent whose client was declined a claim over an iPad. And the reason why they were denied was because they couldn't prove that they took the iPad on the trip with them. It's probably very hard to come up with receipts for things that you've purchased, but what I've started suggesting to my customers is lay your cruise ticket or your plane ticket, something that has the date on it that you're traveling, and beside that, lay your earbuds and your iPad or whatever you're taking, cameras, extra phone, whatever equipment you're taking, take a picture of it so that you could say, this is what I took on this trip. Okay, next, food. Okay, after you've picked out your seat by the pool, I would send somebody to get food. And typically, I would send Trey to get food. He'd bring back a little of everything. And since food's included, you could take whatever you would like. I will tell you, before I go to my room, though, I do try to grab some snacks, a bag of chips, some fruit, just something to have in my room. Because you'll find yourself from time to time just needing something. And if you take it off of the buffet bar and throw it in your refrigerator in your room, good to go. Frequently, I'll grab yogurt, an extra milk, or juice. And for sure, that's almost always in our refrigerator. Okay. Oh, if you carried wine, then you would have that with you in the bags that you're going to have with you by the pool. So just remember, almost every cruise line lets you carry 1 bottle of wine or 2 bottles per cabin and a 12-pack of soda. Now, you better carry something that rolls, because the wine and the box of a 12-pack of soda, that's gonna weigh just a little bit. So if you want to, I would keep those with me. I for sure would keep the wine with me. I guess I could let the box of soda go into one of my pieces of luggage and have it sent on to the room. Okay. Then pretty soon you're gonna have to go get ready for dinner. I set you guys, Ashley, for 5:30. So don't be rushed. Hang out by the pool as long as you want. Give yourself time to get ready, because once you're dressed for dinner, you may want to go make pictures around the ship. The first day, people are super nice. They're making pictures. If you offer to make their picture, I bet that they'll offer to make your picture. But we tool around a lot on day one. And I've gotten where I book a lot of tables for 2 instead of a big table. And I'll tell you the reason why. Because during COVID, during some of the highest points, there's now facial recognition, and there is association. Let's say that a new person that I met this morning, they were now found with COVID. Because I sat with them at the dinner table, I could be quarantined to my cabin. Now, if you know people, I guess you wouldn't worry. But if you're new to cruising, just be cautious, because if that person were to be found to have norovirus or COVID and they were quarantined to their cabin, they're going to quarantine you just out of the association. Plus, I like sitting at a table for two because I don't have to wait for anybody else to get finished with their entree so that I can have dessert. Because if you sit at a big table, it is number one, they'll wait for other parties to arrive before they start taking orders. So that could delay you. But then they don't take away the appetizers until everybody is finished. And then they bring the entrees, and they don't bring anything else until everybody's finished. Yeah, I just seen it at a table for two. Okay, what are we going to do after dinner? All right, there is a huge array of choices. You can go to the entertainment. There are shows every evening. It could be comedians, it could be stage productions, it could be music reviews, or you could just tool around the ship because somewhere there's going to be a piano bar, there's going to be a jazz club, there's going to be somewhere doing karaoke, there's going to be somewhere where it is country music, and there's going to be somewhere where it's rock and roll. All of these places. So you'll be able to find something that fits your taste, I promise, as you walk around the ship. Now, also, lots of people go to the casino, probably the busiest place in the evening. And if you're going to go the first day or the first night. Once you're miles away from the coast, you're in international waters, and they're able to open the casino. So many people will take advantage of it as soon as it opens. I can just tell you that on day one, the slots are looser, the people are kinder. They want everybody at dinner that night talking about how much money they're winning in the casino so that everybody will go. If you're going to gamble, do it on the first day. I usually, if I win, I gamble with their money, not more of mine. Okay, then, my favorite thing to do at night, well, there are clubs and lounges and that sort of thing. But if there's a good movie on, you can find me running to my cabin, putting on a pair of sweats and a sweatshirt, and going up and getting ice cream and coffee and a blanket and stretching out for a movie under the stars. The big screen out on the pool deck, not only does it have news in the morning, but it shows some first run movies that you'll see in theaters right there for your enjoyment. Now, realize that if they start early, they're probably going to have Pixar in them. If there are usually two. You can see many movies on your own TV in your room, first run movies, but out under the stars, there's just something very cool about that. And, if you're on Carnival or, well, several others, an ice cream and coffee goes really good under the stars, and a blanket if you get cold. Okay. I'm sorry. I wrote in really small print tonight, and so I'm having a little bit of a challenge. Room expectations. Did you know that the average cruise cabin is only 178 square feet? That's small. Just know what to expect, because many people are surprised, and I'll just share that with you. The next thing I would tell you, to make sure that you find the live performances, on every TV screen, in all the rooms, and even in many of the public areas, you'll see a calendar of events. What's going on the ship tonight, and where's it going on at? Well, you get a hard copy in your room, but look on your TV, because many times the night before, I'm planning what I'm doing the next day. And you can do that with excursions or without excursions. If it's a city that one of us have been to, we're happy to share with you what we've done. For Cozumel, for instance, I really do love to go out and jump in a taxi and go down to Chabanal Park. It's an ecotourism facility. There's food available at a cost, but at a local cost. And there's a dolphin exhibit next door to it. It's just a really cool thing to do. That, if you purchase it from the cruise line, instead of paying $10 per person for the entry fee, you're paying something like $74 to $85. I've seen it as high as $85. And all they're doing is giving you transportation. So, just something to be aware of. I would love to tell you more about cruising, and I'm happy to. Reach out to me, or you can see right down here, it's getting ready to come, where I say you can get a appointment with me personally and have your own personal time at calendly.com, Action Travel. Reach out to me on social media. We're trying to be very responsive. It is the busiest first of the year we've had in years, and we are just beyond excited. New agents to help us, we're ready for you. Give us a call. We'd love to serve you. And remember, without a travel agent, you're on your own. Ciao, guys. Come see us. Good night.